So we talked about the business being founded in 2017, and it took you 5 years to get to the first million in ARR, roughly around that. And it all happened when you figured out this collaboration need and started to respond in terms of what you were building in the product. Since then, it's been like revenue's growing faster. We've raised 24 million Series B, and things that are kind of day and night in many ways compared to what they were like in the first couple of years. If you were going back, like, do you feel you could have done something differently to get to that pivot like sooner?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's kind of this like double-edged sword of being customer-centric that I was talking about, where it feels great to have customers be passionate and want to give us feature requests and want to use our product and all of those things. But any company, and I think particularly a startup, just has to figure out how to focus. And the saying no to customer, like early on, when every customer and every bit of attention is so precious, and it's so hard to fight for anybody to care. When people do care, you really want to lean in and listen to them. We had been really diligent from early on saying no to some of those types of customers, and those were the people who wanted us to be more of a behind the scenes type of data tool. And so we had a lot of larger companies really early on saying, hey, we'll pay you stratospheric amounts of money to be kind of like a behind the scenes ETL tool or automation tool that like we can set and forget. And like if you want to go down that path as a company, we could do some like there's a lot of interest. We really wanted to build a tool for end users, for like humans to touch and feel and use on a daily basis, and help each of those individuals build their own things and create their own value along the way.
Just one quick question there is, why? Why did you want to focus on the individual and humans if someone's saying, we'll give you a crap load of money if you do something else?
I think this was a thing that started out really important to me and has become very important to the team that now exists at Parabola, where the individual users we've gotten to know, these operators who are today a little bit behind the scenes, are so incredibly passionate about their problems and about their companies. They usually are so in the weeds on all the process. They know all the gaps and where all the skeletons are buried. And I think get a little bit overlooked as just these keep the lights on people. When if you actually really talked with one of them, the two processes they currently support manually are just scratching the surface of all of their best ideas for how they could actually help drive top company goals. It's just that they had to stop at number 2 on their list of 1,000 because they can only support 2 of them manually. And if you give them the ability to build their own things, to tinker on their own things, to support more and to create more, they can get way farther through that list and start actually driving some of the most important goals in the company. And so really felt excited early on, and I think that started to pay dividends quite recently, of empowering those people to themselves be self-sufficient, to kind of step out of the shadows. And as a company, not just create economic value, unlike the 1x economic value of the company growing, but help each one of our users create their own economic value off into the world as well.
The other question I had for you was around when you started to double down on these collaboration use cases, did your ICP change? Did you go after a different type of end user, or was it really the same people just using the product differently and bringing other people into the mix?
I think it was more of just a narrowed slice of the people who are already using us. So from an ICP perspective, our favorite users are the broadest slice is just going to be people who have a lot of operational complexity. So they're not just shuttling data from one system to the other. There's 15 different data sources, including like 3 CSV files that get emailed to you by a vendor. And you have a human who has to go in and download something out of a portal, and you copy and paste stuff into a spreadsheet, and then you write a VLOOKUP, and all of these crazy things that you do manually. The companies that tend to have a lot of operational complexity, therefore will gravitate to those industries. So e-commerce and retail and CPG tend to have a lot of operational complexity and fewer technical resources. And then similarly, they're like freight and logistics partners that we've gotten to know quite well also. And so those were some of the people who were already users of ours who also were trying to use this in the context of a team. And so that intersection of operational complexity, trying to use this in the context of a team, is our absolute favorite. There's no reason why you can't use us if you're outside of those verticals. We have other, we have SaaS companies using us and real estate property management companies using us. But we're trying to stay focused in terms of like the density of integrations we build and also the way in which we go to market against those ICPs we know well. And the benefit of that is then our customer success team and our sales team and our launch team and our product team get to know those use cases really well. And we can not just build the best product for those customers, but we can also, in supporting them, say, hey, we've actually seen this thing happen 15 other times at other companies, some smaller than you, some larger than you. Either you're doing it the exact same way they are and great, like full steam ahead, like don't even spin your wheels trying to think of something else, or like you're the first company we've seen do it this way. Are you sure you should be the one like innovating, or would it be helpful if we helped connect the dots and introduce you to somebody else like who's doing this in a different way?
So you mentioned in the early days, people would find you, maybe you did a product hunt launch or page 6 of Google or whatever, because it strikes me as like, what are people searching for? Like what do they look for is like when they're trying to find a solution like this, it's not like, project management software, right? That's pretty easy to find. So one, how did you start to solve that problem to make it more, easier for inbound traffic to find you? And then also, then how did that evolve into what you're doing over the last couple of years? Because it sounds like you've become a lot more focused on sales. So maybe let's talk a little bit about like just kind of discoverability of the product.
So I think, yeah, certainly people are not searching for the most part for a collaborative data tool to solve their problems. They have a really specific problem they're trying to solve, and they're looking for solutions to it. And for a lot of those problems, if you're a freight forwarder like Flexport, one of our bigger customers, who is trying to calculate how many customs duties one of your shipping customers needs to pay, that's like you're not searching for a collaborative data tool to solve that problem. But our strong belief is actually that a collaborative data tool that helps your operators all work together to like crowdsource the best ways they do this, handle exception cases, and like document their process along the way actually is the best solution. And so we have to find them in their moment of need and help them understand that like this slightly more general purpose tool that helps them solve that problem in a perfectly bespoke way, and also 10 adjacent problems all in the same tool, is the best solution. So we have a few different ways of capturing that intent. Sometimes it's searching for that specific use case. So we try to have some amount of content either for those teams specifically or for their like kind of like longer tail specific use cases. And that's where the bit of artificial vertical focus constraint right now helps us.
Like people searching for, how do I export data from Airtable and do XYZ? Yeah,
so it could be that mechanical thing. It could be like an e-commerce company trying to figure out how to do a return on ad spend analysis. And there's maybe like a specific thing that trips you up. And the most vanilla return on ad spend you can just get straight out of an off-the-shelf tool. But as soon as you need to integrate a weird data source or like a CSV file or something, so like we understand a few of the places where off-the-shelf tools start to break down and you need to do something custom. So we try to find you in that moment. Or a lot of the time it's looking for alternatives to the way they've done something. So it's, I tried to use one of these like simpler tools, like what are alternatives to doing that? So we try to create some surface area to find us that way. And then we also have, as you were saying, we have a sales team. So they'll grab a lot of those people who come inbound and talk with them, but we do reach out to companies that are similar to other companies we work with, where we have a lot of confidence that they're running into problems that we can solve, and we're usually right. Like most supply chain teams at most e-commerce companies over 250 people have a very similar set of planning, like demand planning use cases, and we can just tell them that we're good at solving these things, and if they're interested, they can talk with us, and we get a quite high interest rate as a result because we're not pushy, we're not trying to sell somebody something they don't need. We're very focused. Our whole team is focused on creating value. And if we can create value, it's a total win-win. And if not, like no problem at all. And then I think probably the magic of Parabola today is our customers become self-sufficient for the first time. They usually get elevated within their careers. Their whole team starts to have a higher profile within a company. And so they really become evangelists. And so we have fantastic net dollar retention and upsells within existing teams, truly crazy net dollar retention. And then our best customers start just referring us to other people in their space, past companies they've worked at or other groups they're parts of. And I think these operators don't really have a spotlight shined on them very often. And as we shine a spotlight on them, I think they get really excited to pull others into the spotlight with them.